it's not all about being super, super strict all the time, but you got to enjoy yourself. So, I'm the least stereotypical trainer when it comes to strictly eating all the time, strictly, not doing things and strictly working out all day long. I think I'm your most next door trainer you can find. And that's how people should be. Work out to enjoy yourself. And that's what my lifestyle is all about.
This is the Home of Health Span podcast, where we profile health and wellness role models, sharing their stories and the tools, practices, and routines they use to live a lively life. Bron, it is great to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, I feel grateful we were introduced by another friend of the show and prior guest, Fernanda Shaw. So good to keep it in the Boston fitness community.
Yeah, she's great. I randomly met her through Instagram. So we've done a couple kind of funny videos together, and she's got a great following and started a pretty cool brand of herself, on her own. I'm pretty pumped for her, how well she's doing.
Yeah, she's got definitely a lot going on. But today is about you, and we're really excited to hear from you, learn from you, this whole BronCore Fitness brand. Like, what is it that inspired you to build this and to be this guy, be Bron?
Quick background. I used to do some super amateur bodybuilding competitions back in college, like the all natural one. Figured out that I really loved working out, but then figured out bodybuilding wasn't for me. It just was such a lifestyle that, you had to be essentially addicted to. I'm addicted to working out, but not to the stereotypes that go with bodybuilding, whether it be, getting into, drugs if people aren't natural, or also just the people that you hang out all day. There's fun for them, but not, you can't really go out to restaurants and enjoy yourself. You're bringing your own freaking Miss Jet Dash, herbs and stuff like that to add to your food. So loved working out, but went away from the bodybuilding aspect of it, and then wanted to stay in the exercise science realm of my life. So I moved up to Massachusetts because I got accepted to Mass General Institute Physical Therapy School, and then did some interning at Mass General Hospital, which was cool in physical therapy wing. But at the same time, I was doing personal training on the side as a side job, because that's what I've always thought personal training was. You're an instructor, or at least it used to be. Back in 2010 or so, it was trainers or instructors train or teach classes before work and then after work, and then you have your real job. And so that's essentially what I was doing, is, training and teaching classes to make money for physical therapy school. And then before physical therapy school started, I realized when I was doing my internship at Mass General, it's just a slow profession for me. It was just, physical therapy was not going to be for me. People, they show up because they're being given insurance money to show up, right? If you get hurt, have either of you ever been to physical therapy?
Oh yeah, I was at physical therapy on Friday.
Okay, yeah, and so is it concierge physical therapy, or is it insurance paying?
It was insurance paying in Bermuda, though, right? So it may be a little different.
Maybe a little different, right? So from what I realized is all these people, they go to physical therapy because they get 6 or 8 weeks of physical therapy, and then after that, it's over, right? It's like severance, it's cut. They're not going to come and pay $250 a half hour to, because medical costs are so ridiculously high because of insurance, and it just makes no sense. So you're kind of like this robot. You're just next person coming in, you're just handing them papers. Here you go, do this at home, but you're not checking in. You're not writing them or anything like that, seeing what are, because you have such a big load. And I just realized it's such a slow profession, because even though it's a lot, it was just people don't, they're only coming because insurance is paying. They don't want to be there necessarily. 90% of people don't. Maybe 10% want to really get better, but the 90% are there because they need to get better, whether it's work or just to live, activities, daily living. And so I was like, man, this is just such a slow profession. So, but at the same time, I was doing personal training at a local gym, and I was like, I can totally make a living out of this. This is something I can continue to do. I just have to really put my mind to it and fill my hours, right? Because that's the hard part of training is you get early, you get maybe midday, and you get late. So if you can really, push it and put all your eggs in one basket and be like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm going to fill up my schedule. Then you can do really well. And so I started to realize that. And so before physical therapy school started, I started doing one-on-one training as my full time, and then I started BronCore Fitness because originally I was featured on a magazine called Details Magazine. They were doing like top instructors of every city. Somehow I got chosen. Honestly, it was luck of the draw. Someone nominated me. I got,
Nice.
there's nothing really that stood out about me at that point in time. It was a good instructor, and someone was nice enough to. So I was Boston top trainer, and they had New York, and they had LA and Miami. And I realized if you Google my name, the only thing pops up are my like high school football pictures and a couple of, bodybuilding pictures. Other than that, there was no like, if you're like, how do I get in contact with this guy to train with him? There's nothing. So I was like, crap, I got to like create something, I got to create something more than that. So that's how BronCore Fitness came. Wanted to pick a name that embodied something bigger than just me, even though my name's in it. If people hear BronCore Fitness, they don't think of a guy. Maybe they think of strong core. Maybe it's not like a lot of people are like Body by Bron or, Bron training or, like I wanted something that people hear and they don't think, oh, is that a guy? It sounds like more of a name, right? A brand. And everyone can wear it. And people say, instead of going to BronCore Fitness, we go to BronCore. It doesn't mean me. So that's why I chose that name. And my original thing I had to do because of there was a non-compete with the gym that I worked at. So I was like, all right, so how do I kind of get around that? So I started doing charity workouts outside. So once a week I did charity boot camps because no one can say anything about me giving money to charity. Right. So It was a good cause. It was a good way for me to create a name for myself instead of people saying, what's BronCore Fitness at that time? Right. It was just me. I didn't want people to say, oh, it's this guy. And the only way you can be part of BronCore Fitness is if you train with him. Right. That's not very fun. Not a lot of people can do that. So, and it's not economical for a lot of people to do personal training. It's not cheap, So why not do these charity workouts? And then people can say it's a bigger thing. Oh, we go to this BronCore Fitness class, So that's how that started. And I started doing workouts on Provincetown on the beach. So I started doing boot camps on the beach every other weekend. That was also, and those weren't charity because now I was outside of the
non-compete
from the local gym. They couldn't say non-compete because there's none other gyms out there, right? And then it just kind of spiraled into more of one-on-one training at people's homes, private training. And then I had a couple trainers training underneath me and then started looking at spaces back in 2015. Just every space that I looked at was kind of cool, but every owner didn't trust me. It just, you're too young. You sure you want to take on this burden? I'd have architects come in, say, this is what we need. And then a lot of places wouldn't give me any tenant allowance to put a new air conditioning unit into the space because we needed, something that can handle enough BTUs to host classes and, all the energy that people are putting out in heat. And just kept getting turned down by a lot of people. And finally, I looked at this current space in 2016. It was out of my budget. Over the years, my budget went up a little bit, and this was still out of my budget. And my new real estate agent that I used, his name was Steven. He's part of the Eastern Land Company, and he was like, "What do you think about 42 Court Street?" And I was like, "I already looked at that. I mean, it's way out of my budget." He's like, "Well, but it's gone down in price, and I think we can talk them down a little bit more." So, long story short, we got the space, and here we are. So we signed the lease in 2019, and then we opened in March 2021 just because of COVID. Everything kind of just kept backing up, just kept getting. So it took us like a year and a half to build out.
Yeah, but you're here now, and it's going well.
Yeah, everything's going good, man. I think our bread and butter is personal training. If there's anything we can continue to grow more in, is getting classes even more, packed up. But I think I like the fact that our classes are around anywhere between 6 to like 14 people. So they are smaller classes, and people like that attention. See, more attention. Yeah, more attention to detail, which is great. But obviously, as the owner, I don't do a lot of marketing. I don't do that. We're just word of mouth, really. People Google us. We create some great reviews, and we literally people walking by the door. And other than that, we don't do any type of marketing. So I'm happy with where we are without our marketing. And I think we're a different concept in the way that places are a lot of boutique, right? I consider us boutique studio. our classes, or it's like a one-on-one training studio, which usually are a little smaller. And the fact that we're classes and we get one-on-one training, and we're really a personal training gym with some great classes. That's kind of, I feel like, unheard of unless you're in Equinox, which has their regular classes and they have gym membership. We're only one-on-one training private. We're to the point where all of our clients have key cards access to come in, but no one else can come in. Doors locked all day until 20 minutes before class. Then they're unlocked for the class people. And then we're a smaller class. So that's what kind of makes us a different concept.
The whole point of personal training is it is personalized, right? Whatever that client's objectives are, where you're meeting them where they are to do what they want and need to do. What is, you talked about, you got really into it. You were a football player in high school. You got into bodybuilding in college. And so have that, not necessarily addiction, but that hunger, that desire for training and for fitness. What does your own personal fitness regime and regimen look like right now?
I'm not 100% happy with my current regimen because I'd spent so much time on the business. My regimen is 6 days a week. I work out. It's not to my goals. I work out Monday and Tuesday. I work out with my class. So Monday I do strength conditioning. So it's a high intensity, hard workout. So am I happy with the workout? Absolutely. It's not my goals. Tuesday is strength class. It's high intensity lifting class. I do the workout with the class. Again, tough class, really hard. But again, not lifting to what my goals are, which my goals would be to get bigger and gain more muscle. I used to be, at one point I was like 220 pounds and 5'9". And I had a good amount of fat on me, but I loved, I love muscle. I'm like 200 pounds now. So I'm like 20 pounds less, but I'm way more fit than I was before. That's for sure. Wednesday is kind of, I figure out when can I work out, because my schedule is usually 5:30 a.m. straight through about 7:30 p.m. back-to-back clients. So if someone cancels, I use that time to either work out, walk my dog, eat. It's like, all right, when am I going to work out? Am I going to work out early, late? Thursday is like the only day I have scheduled with a client to work out for legs. And then Friday is another. I love to try my best to take a class somewhere else on Fridays. Saturday, I try to get a run in. So but none of that is, I really want to work on getting bigger arms, which I hardly ever do an arm workout by itself. Sometimes I do on Wednesdays or Fridays. So my regimen is 6 days a week, and they're good workouts, but they're not tailored to my exact goals, because I tend to put them aside for trying to get the business. And that's one of the hardest parts about owning the gym, is sometimes it's really hard to work out in your own gym. I have this beautiful facility, but the minute I start working out, somebody comes up to me and asks me a question. Hey, do we do this? I remember, oh shoot, I need to go take care of that. I need to fix that real quick before the next class. It's like, it's like, so on like Sunday's like the one day I really want to try to work out, and I never do, because I don't want to come to the gym. So I want to go somewhere else. So I try to do something active. Like this weekend I played pickleball, and I got a good sweat in, but it wasn't, to me, it's maybe to the average person that's going to be a great workout. And I thought, yeah, sure, I moved a lot. I got my heart rate up, but that wasn't a workout to me. It was great movement. It was good. Like I always call it like natural human activity, right? It's like I have a client that goes on vacation, and I'm like, all right, Andrew, I'm going to give you these 2 workouts. You're going to be on vacation for 4 days. You just got to complete these 2 workouts. It's going to be 30 minutes each. You just go to the hotel gym. You need a pair of dumbbells. That's it. We're going to go through them together. We're going to do these workouts together, and then you're going to have no problem doing them on your own. And then 90% of the time they come back and say, all right, Andrew, did you do your vacation workouts? And you're like, no, but I got a ton of walking in. And so I'm like, so you did, normal human activity. And they're like, no, but it was more than normal. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. But you didn't do, I'm not shaming them, but I am saying, all right, like, it's like one of those things that you need to move. We need to move. We shouldn't be doing nothing. So my Sunday workout actually was pickleball, but I don't consider that a workout. But for someone, maybe for your average person, that would have been a great workout,
It's back to like just understanding what your goals, what your objectives are, right? If the first step is just moving and getting people moving, that's great. So you have strength training in there. It's a lot of classes, and it's classes you're leading. It sounded like Thursday you have a dedicated leg day you do with a client, or you have your own.
Yeah, I had a client just say, hey man, I don't want to really work out by myself. I'd rather train with you and have you work out with me. Like I don't want someone to train me rather than working out with me.
Yeah.
He gets more out of that, and like I'm all for it. Forces me to do. And so we said, he's like, I never work out legs on my own. So okay, great, let's do legs. So every Thursday we have our leg day. which is helpful for me. Legs used to be really exciting for me, and then you hit an age where they're not exciting anymore. As a guy, it's like back in the day when you're really strong, and it was like my strong point, and they're still pretty strong for me, for other people, but it's just like, it's such a draining workout. That's like, so it's nice to have a partner to do that with.
Yeah, I guess that's probably how he felt too. Like,
exactly, totally.
I feel like you brought up a good point with that comment, like leg days when you were younger were a little bit different than they are now. And I guess with your clientele, like, is there modifications that you do, like when you're training them, knowing that people do have different goals, and like the idea of this podcast is talking about like health span. What would those like recommendations or modifications be? And like, do you find yourself implementing them for yourself sometimes, knowing you have such a varied training schedule?
Yeah. So there's all sorts of different variations we can do for legs when people have issues. A lot of the time people have issues with lunges, so we have them do step ups, right? It's just that little change in something that's pretty similar, but totally different at the same time. And that's something you learn as a trainer, is like how to come up with something fast on the point, right? I'm a horrible improv person. I would love to do improv one day. I'd love to do a stand-up comedy one day, just like a bucket list thing. This is my own stand-up comedy. I'm so good at improving exercises. So I was like, I can't do this. What can I do? Like, to be able to come up with something real fast that mimics something close is kind of a cool skill to have. You don't realize you have it until people ask you often, all sorts of different versions you can do. People can do leg extensions. So you do rubber band, knee flexes, stuff like that. You figure out what are people weak in. Sometimes people are like, I can't do those because my knees hurt all the time. But realistically, sometimes they need to lose some weight and they get a lot of pressure on their knees. So what do? We can always, instead of telling them to do weighted exercise, we got to do body weight because they have plenty of weight to use. Not a bad thing. It's just, hey, we're going to use your weight to your advantage. And then, so many different variations we can do with legs, right? And doesn't need to be, people think about legs and they're like, I don't want to do like barbell squats and stuff. It doesn't need to be barbell squats. People just think about leg days and they think of that and like walking lunges. There's just a lot of options we can do still, to mimic that stuff. What was the part of the question towards me too? I think you were asking.
Oh, if there's anything that like you've had to do or that you've done, like personally, like knowing your, transitioned from this like bodybuilding background to now like being a coach.
In the beginning of my leg day, more so is stretching in the beginning. Mobility. I'm 36 now, so I'm not young, I'm not old. I'm kind of right in the middle. I feel fine. Luckily, I don't have very many injuries, but I do notice when I don't do like certain stretches in the beginning. I do the 90. It's called the 90-90 stretch. I call it a goalie stretch when you spread your knees and you're trying to get your pelvis to the floor, almost like you're doing a split, doing some body weight squats. That stuff. If I don't do that stuff in the beginning of my workout, I totally feel like I'm like setting myself to injure myself. I guess I just feel totally different. Whereas younger Bron, no problem. It's like I just jump into some barbell squats and go.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone always says, you wait until you get my age. I get it. Like I'll tell you what, I'm never going to try my best to never tell people that. I hate it when people say, well, when you're my age, you'll really feel it. It's like, you're always going to be 10 years older than me. So you're always going to say that to me. So my goal is to prove people wrong and to continue to do things that make me not feel older than them and be like, I'm still stronger than you, mofo. Like, it doesn't matter.
I mean, that is the goal, right? Like, let's feel good every single day.
Don't use your age, right, as a reason why things are hurting. I get it. People hurt. And sometimes there is really physicalities that you can't prevent and you need surgery to do. Like, no doubt that, there's degrading cartilage and, that debilitates you. And I'm never one to say like, they just got to push through it. But sometimes you do. But if there's, an actual physical problem, there's obviously that's different.
So you're in a unique position. You got to kind of build out, design your own gym. What is your go-to favorite piece of equipment that you have?
3 things. These have been around, but I feel like I brought light to them in Boston. I'm not saying I'm the one that made them popular, but I honestly had never really heard of them until I went to a CrossFit gym a long time ago, and there was one, and we didn't even use them multiple times. The skier. I feel like skiers are huge now. One of my concepts in 2018 when I was writing my concept is I wanted skiers and rowers That was my first thing.
Yeah.
And then I realized I really like the like Aerodyne, Echo bikes, stuff like that, because there's no way you can cheat on them, right? Spin bikes, you can twist it, you can decrease resistance, and like those bikes, there's no resistance changing. It's just hard push, right? So I think I really love skiers because I feel like one of the first, the local gym I worked at for 9 years, I asked them every year to add a skier into the budget because I really wanted one. And I was one of the biggest drivers of income to the entire company, New York, Boston, Philly, Washington, D.C. I was number 2 in the company. And like, they can't give me one skier, which is, $1,000. And yet I'm bringing the most clients in for my, it's like, it's crazy. And so I was like, when I have my gym, I'm going to have skiers in there. I love those. I think they're super low impact. They're different. They're fun. They're not intimidating, right? It's like people get intimidated by the air bike. They don't get intimidated by the skiers. If they've never done them, they learn them. They're like, oh, this is fun. Like, you hear people say it's kind of fun. So skiers, I love those. So we have 10 skiers, we have 10 rowers, and we have 10 Echo bikes at BronCore. And every week we switch. So it's like our signature class, one of our 5 types of classes. We do the machine of the week and strength, right? 1 or 2 muscle groups. And the next day is machine of the week and strength, whether it be endurance, sprints, whatever on the machine. And then the next week we change to the next machine, rowers. And the next week we go to the bikes. And the next week we'll go back to the skiers. So that way it's never boring. Also, as the instructor, it's never boring too. I just couldn't imagine teaching on the same machine every week. You know what I'm saying? It's just monotonous.
Building out different mobility, different movement, like back to our bodies are made to move, like move them in all these different ways. That's great.
Yeah. It's like, right. Different, right. Not repetitive motion. One thing I've never understand, people love it, is spin classes, right? Indoor cycling. People love it. I mean, I think it's dying right now, unfortunately. A lot of the studios are changing to the strength and spin, and then total strength classes, and a lot of classes here. I call it I like to consider it as an effect that I made up the name of, called the cupcake effect. It's like in New York City, they had like one cupcake shop, and they're like, you got to go to Betsy's cupcake shop. And then like Rick's cupcake shop opened right next door. And then there's like 5 cupcake shops, and they're like $10 a cupcake. And now they're all closed because they all closed themselves down. It's because there was too many cupcake shops. It wasn't anything special. Same thing happened to spin studios. Like, I couldn't believe how many spin studios have been opening up in Boston. And now they're starting to turn into yoga studios and strength studios instead. And like, I can name like 4 of them. I'm not going to say their names, but that have closed down and reopened into something totally different. Same owners, but because they realize, spin is dead. It's just a repetitive motion for an hour, maybe once a week. But people were going to these classes 3 or 4 days a week, because they love the dance aspect of it. So that was great movement. If my mom was doing spin, I would be happy, but not for your average person every single, it's like, oh man.
As the one thing.
Yeah. So it was right. Changing machines every week is kind of nice to get your body moving in a different way. And then second exercise, I really like, this is a super random one. I have a Nordic hamstring piece of equipment that it's nailed into the ground. Nordic hamstrings are where you lock your heels into the machine and you slowly go down with your upper body and you try to pull yourself up with your hamstrings. The big GHD machines, those are a version of it, but you can do a lot more things on the GHD. So I love that piece of equipment randomly. And then I love barbell workouts, honestly. I think people say if you were stuck on like a deserted island, it's like one piece of equipment you need. It's a barbell. That's it. As old school as that is, it's like my favorite exercise is power squat clean. I think it's such a hard exercise. You can do 8 reps with a fairly decent weight, and you're gassed. It's cardio, it's resistance, it's the whole body,
Yeah, I mean, when you talked about the like clients going in the gym workout and just the 2 free weights and you can do it with 2 dumbbells, it's a shame more gyms don't have the barbell. Like, it's just so versatile on what you can do. If gyms were trying to be better, they would start adding that stuff in for sure.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Even though it's not to your own goals, right? You're working around being a business owner, working with your clients in your workouts. You're still working out quite a lot. You're still moving quite a lot. And so you have to no doubt think about how you recover your body. And so what does recovery mean and look like to you, whether it's sleep or other modalities? You're saying, hey, I know I got to go teach this class tomorrow. I need to be ready.
I think if there's one piece of fitness that I'm missing, it's my recovery. I'm the worst example of recovery. I know how important it is, and it's one of those things. And it's part of owning the business, not having the time to recover. Luckily, I feel fine all the time. Meaning, maybe sometimes you need to recover. You don't realize you need to recover until you feel past that point. Maybe because I move so much and I'm so used to it, and my job has been this way for so long. It's not okay. I'm not saying it's okay, but on average, I get 5.5 hours of sleep, and I'm the first one to be like, I know that's wrong, because it's just at the end of the night, if I get home usually at 9 p.m., and then I want to cook, and then I want to, or sometimes I have pre-made meals that I order from a company, but sometimes I want to just chill and meditate. But my meditation is watching one TV show, just turn off my brain and not talk, because all I do all day is talk, right? Because part of being a personal trainer is to be able to have conversation and keep people engaged and keep people wanting to come back because it's not boring, keeping the air filled with conversation, and because it's really about your client, right?
Yeah.
You want to ask things about you, great, but I'm not trying to, a great example. I used to know this trainer at old gym, and I would hear her client say, I got like 5.5 hours sleep last night. And she'd be like, oh, I know, I got 5 hours of sleep. She like one up her every time.
Always
And I'm
one
like,
up.
let the girl say her piece, and like, don't, unless she asks you how much sleep you got, like make her feel appreciated, and like, oh man, this is such a hard day. And she's like, I know my day's crazy. It's the hardest day ever. I'm like, this is therapy. Let them talk, you know?
Yeah. Wow. So the sleep, you do the show and you have to get up early, right? What time is y'all's first class?
First client every day is 5:30.
Yeah. And you got to be there, be ready, gym open.
Yeah. So, I mean, my hardest part is definitely recovery. I know I'm not, I know I don't get it. And yet it's funny. We have a family Fitbit challenge going on right now, me and my family. My mom wanted to get a Fitbit to try to get her moving a little bit. And I'm not convinced it's telling the truth, but I get between like 27 to 35,000 steps a day, because all I do is walk around all day. I'm not going for runs or anything. Like, that's just how much I move. And like my family's like, what's, what's wrong with, like, how are you consistently getting 25,000 steps and you're not even like going for runs or any, like, because I'm just walking. I stand all day, having breaks like this are great to like sit down. And I think my body's just so used to it that my recovery is a lot different than other people. Protein powder. I do some creatine. Other than that, I don't take any other supplements.
So those are the two, protein and creatine.
That's it.
You supplement with. Do you have brands you like on each of those?
I like Naked Nutrition, because they're so minimal. I think that's all I go. Naked Nutrition for Naked Way. It's not the best tasting thing. It's how it is. You're just taking it to get the nutrients. Yeah.
And how about the creatine?
As long as it's creatine monohydrate powder, I'm happy with it. But I also do Naked Nutrition just because to keep it in the family.
That's on the supplement side. How do you think about nutrition otherwise? Like, are you thoughtful about, here are the meals?
Yeah, during the week, I try my best to. So I order from different meal companies to keep it fresh. Pre-made meals. I try my best to do complex carbs during the week. So brown rice, sweet potato, oatmeal, bulgur, buckwheat, quinoa, fruits for dessert. I try my best during the week to give myself a little sweet tooth. At nighttime, I try to stick to meat and vegetables, and then fruit as like my carb at nighttime, just to get my mind off it. And I stay fairly lean, right? I'm not crazy lean right now, but I can see my six pack, and I'm happy with that. But I could always lose a couple more pounds during the weekend. I think part of the 5 pillars or whatever you say, it's social. Some part of that is right, social connection. I'm a big advocate of going out. All my friends are my clients. It's all the people I hang out with are my clients. That's pretty much. Maybe I have like 2 people I hang out that are not my clients, and part of that is going out and drinking, having fun. I enjoy having drinks on Fridays and Saturdays. Usually just one week, usually just one day, Saturday, and I look forward to it. So weekends I tend to take off, try to do healthy in the morning, oatmeal or eggs on the weekend, on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday's like whatever goes. I'm trying to eat, what I sleep in. I get my 8 hours usually on Sunday, and then I eat whatever. So like nutrition during the week is pretty spot on. I think that's what keeps me um, fairly lean and to my liking when I look in the mirror. I think there's something to be said. If you can do 5 days on and 2 days off, that's going to be helpful. And something I always try to like encourage is being hungry is good sometimes. At nighttime, when I'm hungry, I'm like, I need to get something to eat. And it's like, no, I don't. It's just your body burning fat. If you feel hungry, it's a good thing. It's like people were so easily reaching to the next food, like, oh, we can grab food. It's because we're hungry. And like, but that to me is like the feeling of being hungry is the feeling of burning fat.
With your clients, I guess, since they are people that you're spending time with, do you think the 80-20, if that's how you'd want to put it, like approach to the lifestyle kind of keeps them on track as well? I know you mentioned like the thing about bodybuilding, and I'm seeing this with my mom myself. She's 3 weeks out from a competition, so I'm home right now and she's eating like just tilapia. We couldn't bring her to Father's Day brunch. So like that like detriment that makes it so hard to balance. Is that something you tell your clients and you follow from personal experience, just to like stay on track and kind of make it as enjoyable as possible?
Yeah, I think 80-20 is a good rule. Like, you mean 80% good and 20%?
Yeah, like the 5 days a week, like stay on your regimen and like do what works for you on the weekends.
Yeah, if I could get my clients to do that, that would be amazing, because you got to enjoy yourself, right? You have to enjoy yourself a little bit. And that's huge. It's like massive. Like you can't just be, unless you have a competition or something you got to get ready for. That's super important. Like you gotta enjoy yourself, or else you're just gonna burn yourself out. And that's the thing about like bodybuilding competitions, like you burn yourself out, and then after the competition, you're like, like, and then you're like bulking.
It's on both sides, right? So it's one, understanding and recognizing and investing in the importance of that social connection pillar, that even if you eat the perfect nutrition and work out all the time and you get perfect sleep, if you're socially isolated, you're still going to have all these health risks that you're running because we're social creatures. And then there's the other piece of it, even if you had the social side of making it sustainable. So being healthy for a year, it's not like you do this 1 year of being healthy and you're like, okay, I'm set for the rest of life. It's a daily ongoing practice. And so what is it that's going to make it sustainable for you? And it just sounds like you found it of saying, hey, I work hard, right? Like I'm 5:30 with my first client. I'm not getting home until 9. Like it's a rough week, but I have a lot of fun. Like I'm on my feet all day. I'm doing stuff that I love during that time. And I'm not so hard and fast on it on the weekend. I can go have fun with my friends.
Right. Yeah.
I'm curious on the friend side, which direction that went. So was it people that you were already friends with were like, hey man, you have it figured out. Can I train with you? Can you help train me? Do my
other way around.
Okay. So you spend so much time with them, you just become friends.
Yeah. I think people spend more time with me than they do anyone. Even if they're seeing me 1 hour a week, that's an hour one-on-one hanging out for an hour every single week, every single week. I think that's so much. So they start to become really good friends. So then also on a client front, I take a lot of people out to eat, out for drinks. I get 10 games a year to the Red Sox and the Bruins to take clients to as friends. I'm not like, hey, do you want to come as a friend? I'm like, hey, I got a pair of tickets. It's just client relations, but it's more so keeping them as good friends and then having a good time with them too, And then I moved up to Boston. I don't know anyone here. So all my friends end up being all the people that I hang out with every single day, Again, I get to spend more time with these people than they do with their family because they spend maybe, with their family once a month for a dinner or a brunch or something like that for 2 or 3 hours. It's not often that you just hang out with one person every single week.
Yeah, to build that depth of connection. You briefly mentioned your meditation practice of being able to shut off the brain, watch some TV. Do you have any other, like any kind of breathing exercise, anything that you're saying, hey, if I'm amped up, anything, this is kind of what takes me down, or you're just kind of going all the time?
I joke with my brother because my brother always tells me I have like a minor reading disability. I just don't comprehend reading easily. I can read textbooks and I like it, but I just hate reading books, honestly. I want to read books, but my brother, every 2 years, he's like, Bron, I got this great book. He's really into reading, learning, real estate, blah, 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 things I want to learn, but I just don't have the patience. He's like, I know you don't like reading, but I'm sending you this book. It's so good. You're going to love it. Just try it a little bit. I'm like, Shane, I'm not going to read it. I've even tried the audiobooks and I start listening to them, but it's just, I don't have your average commuter time. It takes me 10 minutes to get here or 5 minutes on my bike. That's my commute. There's no time for me. And so when I get home, he's like, you should try this app. It's a meditation app, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and then I started to realize the more he started to like try to convince me to read books and meditate, I was like, man, my meditation is TV. Like I don't watch a lot of it, but it is so nice to just turn off and like turn on imagination and just listen, that to me is a form of meditation that people probably don't consider meditation. It's just like sitting, watching, listening, just like listening to a podcast or listening to a meditation app is somebody's meditation. It's like turning off my brain and turning on the imagination of a TV show is meditation. And it really works to like take my mind off, whether it be watching Star Wars because it's so sci-fi or watching a active TV show that's like, taking your brain and putting it somewhere else.
Yeah. Would you say you're an extrovert or an introvert?
Extrovert.
Okay. Because I think this is important in that like to do what you do all day, right? You're not just physically moving, but you're putting yourself out there in this conversation, a new person, new conversation, keeping it rolling hour after hour. But even for someone like you as an extrovert and you go out with your friends on the weekends, by the time you get to the end of the day, you're still drained, right?
Yeah.
You're still like, I need to stop talking. I need to just impress. So finding that space, whether it is, your Netflix or Hulu or whatever subscription or meditation or whatever it is, I think for the listeners is really important to know where your limits are, whether you're an extrovert or introvert.
Yeah. Find your own thing, right? What works best for you.
Yeah.
I think people just got to like step back and think, where am I most relaxed? That's your meditation. Maybe if you haven't found it yet, then that's different. But I think everyone has found it somehow without thinking about it. But if they just simplify it and say, where am I most relaxed? And then in me, I just love the idea at the end of my day, eating my dinner and watching a show.
It's a good point. Like, because we talked about sometimes on the show on people say, oh, I don't like to work out. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, well, I tried running and I hate it. Well, okay, so you're saying you don't like to run. There are a million other ways to work out. And same with people say, oh, I can't meditate. I say, well, how did you try like this? Okay, well, what is it, to your point, that makes you feel relaxed? Like lean into that and find your way to relax and decompress.
Totally.
You mentioned on Sundays, you do get your 8 hours of sleep. What's the difference? You just don't take clients in the morning?
Yeah, I try my best not to work on Sundays. This Sunday I'm working. Sometimes I got to do it. But usually I don't set an alarm clock. Someone asked me one time, what's one thing that people would assume about you that's not right, or that's not correct, like that's totally off. I say, people assume I just wake up early every day, but I'm not a morning person at all. But I'm up every day. So on Sunday, I'll sleep till like 1 p.m. If I don't have clients. But that being said, Saturday night, remember, is my night to party. So I'll go out till 1 a.m. and then come home and eat junk food and go to sleep at 3:30 a.m. So it might not be the most healthy, hours of sleep, but I always also try my best to get a nap in on Sunday too. It's like mandatory in my head that it's like 7 p.m. I'm like, no, I'm still going to get my nap. Like, it's just like, I'm going to do it. It's for me. It's my day.
Yeah. Having that one day, I mean, you're giving so much of yourself all the rest of the days. Having that time is definitely important. When you get the limited sleep, do you find there any things you do or don't do that help the sleep be better?
Not necessarily. I guess, sometimes when I get more sleep, I feel more tired. I think that happens to a lot of people. So that 5.5 hour mark isn't horrible for me. I'm so used to it that I don't think there is. I think, and I tend to eat late too, which is not the best for sleeping, but I actually eat late and then I still stay up late anyway. So I think I have time to digest, but I don't have any recommendations for that.
I appreciate you being here today, Bron. Is there anything before we sign off, anything you want to leave the listeners with? We'll put your social handle, your link to your site and everything in the show notes, but anything you want to share?
I guess if there's one thing people need to know about, I would love people to know about me always, is that everyone that knows me, who trains with me or my staff or anyone, they know that there's this thing against working out to enjoy yourself that is like, I think so like thought about as wrong. Like work out to earn your brunch. I love that. I fucking love the fact that I'm going to work out hard and then I'm going to earn drinks and blah. I'm not trying to work out just to earn them. I just enjoy them more. So people know that, it's not all about being super, super strict all the time, but you got to enjoy yourself. So, I'm the least stereotypical trainer when it comes to strictly eating all the time, strictly, not doing things and strictly working out all day long. It's like I think I'm your most next door trainer you can find, and that's how people should be. Work out to enjoy yourself, and that's what my lifestyle is all about. Look good too, but
That helps. It definitely helps. Well, yeah. Thank you, Bron.
All right. Thanks for your time, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Home of Healthspan podcast. And remember, you can always find the products, practices, and routines mentioned by today's guests, as well as many other Healthspan role models on alively.com. Enjoy a lively day.